Boom. Yo, what's up, everybody? Shouts out to all the listeners. Welcome to the Highly Advised Podcast. It's a brand new episode for your life, brand new episode for your week. I'm here with my amigos, the motherfucking Dons of the whole goddamn game. Shouts out to my nigga, motherfucking Relaxin' Jackson. Shouts out to my nigga, motherfucking Say Kitch. Guys, let them know. Also, let them know what episode this is, because I lost my train of thought. I think it's episode 50. What?
56.
6. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
56. Yeah.
Let's go.
I remember last episode I said 55 like 5 times in the beginning. So yeah, this is episode 56. Wow. Look at us.
Yeah.
We in the 50s. That's all that matters.
Man.
Yeah, exactly.
It feels like we've been doing this for quite a bit of time. I'm not gonna lie. Like I think about some of the things that have happened while we've been doing the podcast that we've talked about. It's like weird to a certain degree.
Yeah, it's for real. We're like, we kind of are able to be like a capsule of time, of like definitely, because we kind of started we were actually starting this before the pandemic hit.
Yeah, man.
And then like when we actually were like, yo, we're planning it out. This is when we're dropping the first episode. The pandemic, we kind of went into the pandemic like the week after.
Yeah.
So like we've been like really like a time capsule over the past like, what is it, like 15, 16 months? Since the pandemic started, essentially, like maybe a little less, but like it's been a dope experience, man.
Yeah, it's been cool. We've definitely been wrong a lot. If you want to hear how wrong we were, we said we were going to be in this for about a week or two, and look at us now.
Yeah, I mean we was doing it for a minute though. I think we all kind of knew we was going. The objective was to get as far as possible, and man, we've gotten pretty far. I will say that.
No, I'm talking about the pandemic.
Oh, yeah. Nah, the pandemic, that's a fact. For the pandemic, we definitely said, oh, we'll be at this a lot. Because they said it was going to be 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And that was it. But then next thing you know, it goes from 2 weeks to being, oh, it's indefinite, pretty much. We've seen people go crazy for toilet paper. But now we're seeing people go crazy for gas. It's like, it's crazy, man.
I saw a meme. Somebody said they filled their basement up with gas. I'm like, my God, like, how'd you do that? Like, how much gas would you have to have in order to do that? You know what I mean?
Sick, man. I seen clips of people like taking like Tupperware, like multiple things of Tupperware, laying it out on the ground and filling it up with gas. I've seen people like fill up plastic bags with gas, like double bagging gasoline.
I was speaking a while earlier this week about this, and I was like, you know, an important thing about gas that people should know is that gas can go stale. You know, if you buy it over time, it can essentially not be as good as it was. That's why you get fresh gas from the gas station. You know, but that's just me. You know what I mean? Go nuts with your gas if you want.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, pretty much like the gas condensate or whatever the word is, and yeah, pretty much you'll get water in your gas, and then just know it's not a fun trip after that. I'll leave it at that.
You know who's feeling gassed up nowadays?
Who's feeling gassed up, man?
Deontay Wilder.
Y'all should have never allowed him to post those videos of him boxing. He's gassed up right now because if people don't know, about a couple weeks ago, we have reported that Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua will be fighting sometime this year, possibly in August, a fight that we've all been waiting for after Tyson Fury has beaten Deontay Wilder. But unfortunately, though he's came up with all the gimmicks of they spiked my water, he had something in his glove, or my cornerman had something to do with trying to get me to lose, he's been now awarded the rematch to their fight because they were under contract. So we unfortunately will not be getting the Anthony Joshua Tyson Fury match right away. But this Deontay Wilder match, he's feeling himself. It sounds like he's found who he once was, I guess. Boxing is doing what boxing does best.
I think it's lame. I think the shit is lame. I think it doesn't really make much sense for the fights to be going this way. I think what happened is kind of dumb because, like, at the end of the day, they took away the Tyson Fury Anthony Joshua fight, which would have, been a combination of all the belts, which is cool. Which is, I think, the direction that boxing should move towards. Of course, me being a novice boxing fan, you know what I mean? Like, I'll say that I think that just will be the
Say that
ultimate
shit.
goal.
Say that shit again for the listeners.
Me being a novice boxing fan,
An
I
old
think that would be
casual.
a dope goal. No, I'm not gonna lie. I don't watch boxing like that. I said it multiple times on this podcast. I just think that it would be cool. Me myself.
Don't be ashamed of being a novice. Don't be ashamed of being a casual fan. Because, like, let's be honest, before everybody became experts or nerds about the motherfucking game of boxing, they didn't know shit neither. They had to be exposed to it. They had to start watching
I'm
more
learning things through
fights to,
y'all.
well, you know,
Welcome to class.
yeah,
All right.
welcome to
The
class. But
listeners
anyway,
check y'all. I don't know y'all. Hey man.
they ain't check me, nigga. They was talking about the nigga
Just
with this.
fact check.
They was talking about the dude with the Steelers in the back.
Nah,
He
you
doesn't
did say
sound
that.
so smart. That's what he said about you.
You did say that. That shit was crazy.
That's funny.
But for real though, like how I feel about this Wilder thing, it's just kind of more corrupt politics and boxing. You know, it's kind of crazy how this whole thing didn't get resolved. You already had a fight booked between Anthony and Tyson Fury, which that dragged its ass before it finally got its, proposed date. And next year, a couple of days later, oh, surprise, Deontay's getting his rematch and it's September 15th. So I don't know how they're going to work this out. I don't know if they'll still try to have that fight for August 14th and then finagle away for Tyson to fight September 15th, or I don't know, man. And maybe this is where the listeners and the commentators, people in the comments, I should say, are educating us on how this is going to work, how the ironclad contracts and the paperwork and all that shit works, and what's rightfully going to happen. Because for people who are not into the politics of boxing, and when I mean politics, I mean corruption, we don't know what's the right thing or wrong because everything is, presented as the wrong thing. So let us know, like, hey, what is going to happen, what's going down, and then we'll just take your word for it. You know what I mean? Couch genius, whoever you may be, we'll take your word for it.
The couch geniuses. I like
Yeah,
that.
and then we'll
The
go
Genius
ahead.
Bar.
Yeah, and we'll go ahead and we'll follow suit. But if for a casual fan or a guy that doesn't watch boxing except for the big fights, nobody likes this. This is stupid.
Yeah,
This is stupid.
No, I definitely agree about, man. Like at this point, I understand like the whole thing with contracts and you make an agreement, but even then, I believe correct me if I'm wrong. I think that was only available for the first 12 months after the fight. So if there wasn't a rematch done within that time, it's SOL at that point. So I think like it's unfortunate because like Deontay, I get why he feels he deserves a rematch, but even during that time when that window was actually open, he was running around saying he got spiked. His corner was in on it. There was like, I think he said the suit that he wore to the fight was too heavy. His legs were weak. Tyson Fury cheated him. All these other excuses other than let's fight. Let's set up a date. And I think because of that, like you said, someone that's like a diehard boxing fan that's like watches every fight from the opening card to the main event, they'll probably say, oh, cool, I'm glad to see this again. But they also probably understand the corruption of boxing more of. And they just accept it as part of the sport at that point. But as a casual or someone that watches fights every so often, those type of people, I agree. This fight shouldn't be happening at this point because it's past the time limit. If anything, I would have respected Tyson, Fury, and Joshua having their bout, and then Wilder gets either the loser of that fight or a rematch to whoever fight, or the winner of that fight, because then whoever wins that fight has all the belts. But
Oh man, isn't that fascinating? A guy who just got viciously beat up, he still gets a shot at the title. Wow, that's so great. And I don't know how anybody could get up in the morning for that. We're not talking about the pound for pound number one fighter in the world, and he lost the split decision to the corrupt judges. We're talking about a guy who just got his ass spanked, and he could wait a whole year and a half and he automatically gets a title shot at one of the boxing titles, the Ring Magazine title, the ESPN, magazine title. It's crazy.
Hey, man. Hey, listen, I mean, we'll get more into it later, but it sounds kind of off. It often reminds me of some things that we see in the UFC today to some extent, from the BMF belt to even like a guy who's the biggest ticket in the sport, but they give him a title fight even though he's like got mad losses.
And it's wrong.
Yeah, I agree.
Wrong. It's a joke. And I'm a Conor fan. I'm probably more a Conor fan
than anybody.
Than you two. No, not more than anybody, nigga. But more than you two. More than you two, I'll admit that. But I will also admit that him getting a title shot, beating Poirier, is not fair. I mean, the way
we
that
didn't guess this would happen though.
No, we guessed it and we all knew it. Blah blah blah. But the way Dana moved, the way he played chess with all the fighters in the division, he made it possible for, once again, Conor to be in the title picture. How do you get knocked out and you're still one fight away from getting a title shot? Dana White, man, I mean, I know I give boxing a lot of shit about corruption. Dana White, he's doing it in plain sight.
There's two people that I can think got title shots frequently as this, and that's Randy Couture.
Yes.
Uriah Faber.
So I won't knock Randy because the kind of like the era of he was part in, and you know what I mean. Right. So shouts out to the light heavyweight legend Randy.
Right.
Faber, I'll agree with you. This man, he'll beat up some jobber or some guy that he's not necessarily a bad fighter, but he's just not
a guy
at
who
that
should.
level. All right, yeah, let's just say that. And then they're gifting him a title shot, hoping he wins, but he's getting spanked or he's getting knocked out. You know what I mean?
I agree with all that.
But let's stop talking about what's not important. Let's talk about Charles Oliveira. So let me say, listeners, I'm going to say I'm wrong with my prediction. I predicted Chandler was going to win by knockout second round. I'm wrong, 100%. But I also did say, hey, there's a chance this guy can win. And
I mean, we all said that, though.
Talk about covering your bets, man.
Hey,
right.
What can I say?
So, yeah, I'm betting on him, but let me put 50 on. I'm going to put up 200 on him, but let me put 50 on Charles Oliveira, all right?
Nah, we need to, have hard in-place bets on the who's winning. We'll do that, man.
Well, yeah, but we should do it for fun, though. I'm not talking about real money.
No, we'll find a way.
Let's bet cars.
Cars. Yeah. Hot Wheels.
Nah, it's like, let me bet your pink slip, man.
Yeah. But for real though, I just want to say congratulations to Charles Oliveira. 10 years in the UFC. He had some ups, definitely had his downs, had a long ass journey. He racked up 8-fight win streak. He racked up 8 wins in a row before he got a title shot.
Jeez.
Then it was looking a little rocky for him in that first round. Even some of the judges scored it at 10-8. And then he came back, he kept his composure, and he was like, Brazil, we did it. We did it, baby. So shouts out to him. That was a nice left hook he landed on Chandler. I'm wondering if Michael Chandler's a little chinny, because it wasn't like he was getting pummeled. And then he got hit with that nice little hook, and next thing, all of a sudden, his fucking legs was doing the deer shit. So.
I think. Go ahead.
No, you got it.
I think I was watching the fight. I personally don't think Michael Chandler is chinny, only because of the types of fights we've seen him in before, where he's one of those people who they get rocked and they keep on going on, and even after he got rocked by that beautiful hook that he threw, he wasn't all the way out. You know what I mean? He needed to follow up a little bit, because Michael Chandler can kind of get himself together in a similar way to Eddie Alvarez, who he had those wars with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As far as Oliveira winning, I was watching that fight, and I just I think we all knew it was possible. I never saw him knocking him out the way he did. That shocked me. And he caught him just with one of the nicest counters that I've seen like in a long time, and I was just like, man, like he really did it, and then he won. You really got to give him credit because like
Yeah.
I thought he had the skills at 145, but he just never put up enough of a streak in order to get himself fully into the title picture. So like I think him winning the title at 155, I personally didn't think it was going to happen, but shouts out to him because he really did the thing.
He did it.
Yeah, that's the crazy part about it. Like for someone to go on such a long streak and being in the UFC game, the professional fighting game of the UFC for pretty much like Lau said, 10 years. And to get to this point, and even in the fight itself, it wasn't like from the soon as the bell rung in round one, it was a definitive, oh, Charles Oliveira is going to win this fight. It was he took some shots. He was doing pretty good at first, and then he started taking some shots. I mean, I know I was close to thinking like, yo, at this point, if he doesn't scramble, this could be over for him. And luckily, he was able to get himself together, pull himself back up, and then came out in the round two, and he did what it was necessary. But it was a close fight nonetheless. So, like, to see someone go from his journey in itself to get to this point and then still having a tough fight, it kind of shows, like, it's a testament to, like, just those type of fighters. And he's only, 31, 32? So he's still pretty young. He's probably just hitting his peak in a sense. So it was pretty dope. I think shout outs to not Charles Oliveira, but Michael Chandler as well. He took the loss pretty good, and I think I'm sorry, I don't believe he'll have the title within the next 12 months.
I agree. He won't.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Yeah, like it's sad to say, but like we were saying, he'll probably have to get there'll be some way there'll be a bridge between him and Conor. Conor will be standing at the middle of this bridge at some point, more than likely, if he wins the next fight. So,
yeah.
But,
one thing I wanted to say about Michael Chandler in that fight is it looked like the way he was fighting, he thought that he could win the fight literally anywhere it went. And I think we all knew that he had a chance of knocking Charles Oliveira out. But I think that if he would have just let him stand up, even DC said it at some point in the fight. He said, I'd let him stand up. And I would have too, because I think he just would have had a better chance if it was on the feet. But for whatever reason, he was just comfortable like being on the ground. And it's not like he was getting like dominated. He won that whole first round, but it just seems like an odd choice for me personally. I would have just took it on the easiest route, but to each his own.
yeah, especially when you know you're like fighting someone that can grapple. Like it wasn't like he was fighting someone that he thought was just a stand-up guy. Like similar to what we would see in the following fight with Tony, where Tony was fighting Dariush. Yeah, when he was fighting Dariush, like they were even talking about that fight, like how when he fought Charles Oliveira, he was on the ground a lot. So you would think someone like Michael Chandler would have taken like had the sensibility of knowing like, hey, this is a guy that I don't want to be on my back or having him on his back. Definitely when we all know, like from what we've seen with Michael Chandler, his thing is standing up. He's quick to try to shift his stance, going from orthodox to unorthodox. So, and even his style of fighting is just, I'm going to be up on you. So it would have been better. It would have been smarter, but who knows? Maybe because of those things, he feels as though he could be back at having a title shot at least in the next 12 months, though we don't believe it, but he has every right to dream. But yeah, similar to what I was saying though, the Tony fight last night between Tony and Dariush. What did you guys think about that fight?
Well, listeners, that was the prediction I got right. I just didn't see Tony pulling this one off. Dariush, man, he's a guy where if you actually really watch him fight before, he's not bad. And not only that, he's been fighting some tough competition.
Yeah.
You know? So it's not like this is a guy who's been beating up newcomers, guys with 0-2 records in the UFC. No, he's been beating some tough guys, some stiff guys. And pause. But like he's not fucking fighting bums at all. So when he fought Tony, and the way I see Tony got beat up by Justin, and he got ragdolled by Oliveira, I was just kind of like, I don't know, man. This is a bad matchup for him because like Dariush is a good grappler. He's really good at his grappling. And I feel like his stand-up is not like elite, but is good enough to where he could close the distance and grapple you, take you down and wear you out, work you, probably get a finish. You guys seen that heel hook?
Yeah.
That was crazy.
The fact that Tony did a tap was just kind of like, that's a testament to his heart and his will. You know what I mean? To endure that pain. But if that was anybody else, they would have tapped. If it was Connor, he would have tapped. If it was fucking Justin or fucking Dustin, they probably could have tapped. Like that, not anybody is not tapping to that heel hook. He popped his shit and Tony was still up there fighting. So kudos to Tony for being able to take punishment and be able to keep coming. But it's like, I think Tony needs to take some real time off.
Yes.
Because it's kind of like he's getting beat up in these fights, man. And it's starting to become like Tyron Woodley. Tyron Woodley, every fight he's looking worse. Like it's
Did you see the stat that DC read off earlier today?
About are you talking about the 30 strikes one?
Yeah, like he's landed 1 strike per minute in like his last like 3 fights or something like that.
Yeah, that's
bad. That's bad.
Very bad. It's like,
you know?
At that point, he's a human punching bag.
Right.
Yeah,
and it's
essentially.
Like, you really do got to take some time off because it's like, I personally think that Tony has the skills to stay in it like a little bit more, but he's got to take some time off. Like it seems like people found some type of formula to beat him. You know what I mean? And like he's just getting dominated. You know what I mean? Like it's like these last 3 losses were like dominating losses. Like you got to get some time, maybe like a year or 2, and then give it one last shot. And then after that, I think that's about it.
Well, listeners, cheat plug in real quick, but the rankings, make sure you check them out on the Highly Advised Podcast Instagram page, and you'll see our rankings of who we think is, where they're at and possibly who could get the next title shot. So just check it out there. And now we move on. I saw something go ahead.
I was gonna say, I was gonna say, I wanted to say something about this. So like,
my bad.
Nah, you good. So with the Tony fight, right? Like, I agree where like he got dominated the whole fight, and that heel hook it showed a testament to like how tough he was. But at the same time, he took a bad injury from what you could tell. So like it kind of stopped him from even putting pressure on that foot for the rest of the fight. I think between trying to heal from that as well as trying to take some time off to kind of break, I guess, that streak or get his mind right so he can get out of that focus of that streak that he's been on, of the losing streak. He's like 37, 38 at this point. If him taking time off, I know Nigel said like, a year time, right? So now we're putting him at like 38, 39.
Yeah.
Which is pretty much 40. He's pretty much close to 40.
Said the same thing about Tyron.
Yeah, so at this point, personally, I think it may be better for him to, if he was to fight again, he needs to fight within the next year. If not, I think it's best that he retires. Because he's at this point he doesn't have much, time's not on his side. And even DC is a testament of talking about fighting at the championship level of how hard it is to practice and how hard it is to cut weight X, Y, and Z he was fighting at 40 years old. So like, I think for Tony, I think it's probably best that he hangs it up. I know it's unfortunate. It's last thing he probably would want to hear. But if he does fight, he needs to fight within the next year or hang it up. At this point, you don't want someone to become a punching bag. Like, this is probably just the sign of his decline.
I don't know. It's weird because I forgot how old he was, and like it's definitely possible that he should retire. I don't know. Like, it's weird because he was just he was near a title shot, and he just took 2 bad losses. You know what I mean? Like, I guess maybe that's why I feel about it, because he was like closer. Like he was in the picture until he wasn't, and when he wasn't, he's really not. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. Maybe that's why I feel a little bit more lenient in this situation. I had one more thing to say about the card. The Shane Burgos knockout looked crazy, and that fight was actually really good. Him versus Edson Barbosa.
Yeah.
Shouts out to them. If there's any other fight that I wanted to give a little bit of highlight to, that would be the one. And I had a question for y'all. So I saw, a lot of people talking about, Khabib and like the shadow of Khabib, and I want to know like how do y'all think that Charles would go against Khabib in a match? You know what I mean?
Oh man. Right now, I would take Khabib. Even though Charles looked good and Charles has looked really great. What he showed me doesn't look like he could handle what Habib would put him through.
I agree.
Yeah.
I feel like it takes somebody with. There's a reason why people are saying Usman versus Habib, even though it will never happen because one, they're under the same management, but also two, they're like, they're kind of like homeboys outside of the octagon. But there's a reason why they're saying that because Usman is really damn good at wrestling. His wrestling is second to none, at least at welterweight right now. So there's a reason why they're saying that. It's going to be very hard for me to be like Oliveira could go over Habib. Like, I don't know, man. Like, with Habib, man, you can't make no mistakes. The guy is pretty impeccable. The fact that freaking Conor was able to get one round off of him is still like, wow. And some people still think like, hey, that's a debatable round, whatever. But still, that shit is crazy. Like, I think that if they were to fight right now, I would pick Habib. Now, if you're talking about 5 years from now and Oliveira is still killing it, I would choose Oliveira because you can't be away from the sport for like 4 or 5 years and expect to come back and top form without fighting or training, at an active level. Look at Dominic Cruz, you know what I'm saying? He's a prime example of that.
Right.
So, well, now that Nacho asked a question, before we move on, excuse me, but I guess we could already say the winner of Conor and Dustin gets the next shot at the belt. But my real question really is, hey, what's next with Dariush? Because this is a big win for him.
Man, this is interesting, man. Other than Connor and Dustin, like who else is like really up there like that? I saw some people talking about Justin Gaethje, but like I just think it's so unfair that he just got choked out and hasn't fought since then, and he's just automatically in line. Like it's like I don't agree with that. And I fuck with Justin, but like I just think that's unfair. He should have to fight one more person. So Beneil versus Justin isn't a bad fight to make right now.
It's not a bad fight to make, but here's the problem with that: they're both under Ali, and they're both apparently cool with each other. So, and it's not the first time in the UFC where you had two people under the same management, whatever, fight each other. But it seems like all these guys, they're all tight and they all avoid each other because they have that strong bond outside of the octagon, except for freaking Gaethje and Habib. But because that was a title fight, so that kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah, that's like you're breaking bread together, essentially.
Right. You know what I mean? Like if LeBron and D Wade are in the finals, they're not going to sit out. No, they're going to play in the finals because they want to win the championship, even if it's against each other. So what I'm saying is I don't know if that'll happen, but if you remove all the outside factors, I think Gaethje and Dariush is a good fight to make to build the next contender.
Yeah, I would have to agree on that. Like I think it would be Gaethje and Dariush. Just even though they're under the same management, I mean, we also understand like history has shown before where like some fighters they'll be super cool and then they have a fallout because it's, hey, I want the belt and you have the belt, or we both want the belt and I'm willing to do whatever it takes. So, I mean, it's one of those dicey situations. And granted, they all are probably very cool with each other, X, Y, and Z. But I think for someone like Dariush, if that's the only person that they find that's best for him to be next in line, I think he's willing to take it because it definitely if he feels as though like he can win against Charles Oliveira, especially. So, I mean, it's either that or like, what are they going to do? Feed him like Dustin Poirier or Conor? Which, I mean, if it's Conor, he would love to take it because it's a big payday.
Right.
But I think at the same time right now, it's best for him to just take Gaethje and call it a day. And to answer Nigel's question, I agree with Lau. I would put Habib over Charles Oliveira if they fought.
That's fair enough. I think it would be interesting if they fought. I mean, just because like me personally, I think of, and I think most people think of, Habib for his wrestling or grappling and whatnot. And like Charles Oliveira is like actually pretty decent on the feet. And it would just be interesting to see like them have to, battle it out on the feet a little bit. And if it went to the ground, I think Habib would dominate. Don't get me wrong. But I think he would have the grappling to make it just a little bit more difficult than the average opponent.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I think before we kind of skip over anything else with Conor, I think we got to mention congratulations on his new son or his new child that he had.
That's all I know.
Yeah. Yeah, I just saw something earlier today that, like probably a couple hours ago, that he just had a newborn. And on top of it, like outside of that being the great news, he was also listed as Forbes' highest paid athlete for 2021 with $180 million, which is like crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Shouts out to Conor. I'm telling you, man, sometimes I'd be wondering, like, why is this dude fighting? He's done it all. He's done it all. He went from fucking plumbing, making sure people don't have clogged toilets in fucking Ireland, to becoming the face of the UFC, to the face of MMA, to now the face of combat sports, now the fucking highest paid athlete of last year. Come on, like the dude could get knocked out this next fight and he would still be the highest paid motherfucker, the most celebrated fucking combat sport fighter of, at least in this time right now. You know, I'm not saying the next 5 years, but we'll see who the next person is, but he's the guy. And I just be like, why is he still fighting, man? Why is he still fighting? Because you could tell there's a difference in hunger, man. Yeah, you could just tell. You could tell, like, the only reason why he wants the title fight again is not because he wants to be champion. I think he's already got that with Jose Aldo. I think he wants the money. That's it.
That's what I was saying before. Well, I was going to say, I think I said something about that a couple episodes ago, where it comes down to like the money at this point. Because like you said, he's literally achieved everything that was on his bucket list. Went from being he literally has one of the craziest rags to riches stories. And on top of it, when he got the call, he had already decided to quit fighting because of like something that happened to a friend of his, and just live off the life that he had. So like, I definitely agree where it's a money thing for him at this point. I think for Conor, it's the money. And then on top of it, it's probably the lifestyle he lives. Sometimes, you know how it is with athletes, they live this lifestyle, and then once that money's up, once they stop fighting, typically they'll go back to fighting or go back to their sport because they need money, because the lifestyle they're living is like way crazier than what they can afford. So it's probably a mix of both. And on top of it, like, he has another kid now. It's like, I think this is a family of 5 now for the McGregors. So hey, Conor's probably like, yo, listen, I'm about to run as many bags up. I see what Floyd's doing, and he's getting crazy checks. Why not do the same? So
we're gonna see Conor Floyd too.
You know Conor, he may be the number one highest paid athlete next year because of he just got $600 million for the fucking whiskey.
Yeah,
that happened this year. Last year was completely different profits from what he's getting this year. So I'm not saying he is. It's not a foregone conclusion. We won't know until what Floyd does and what other international superstar soccer player like, Cristiano Ronaldo and them. But what I'm saying is, like, $600 million, that's a good start to the race to have back-to-back years of being Forbes #1. So
that's a fact.
I don't know. Like, to me personally, like, when I see it, I think, like, shouts out to him. And I personally think, like, he's came a long way just from that dude who was, talking a little shit, knocking people out on the undercards. You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
definitely, shouts out to him.
Yeah, like he was knocking, like he was on the undercards knocking dudes out and made it to like the other end of the story, right? And it's kind of crazy. What's really crazy is, like, I think we're still seeing that with other fighters. Someone like Francis Ngannou, where he went from literally digging sand or something to that nature to being the champion of the UFC. And now it's been this conversation of who he'll fight next, whether it be John, whether it be Stipe, whether it be Derrick Lewis. And I do believe Dana White actually made an announcement before that it should be Francis versus Derrick Lewis in his next bout. So, but I mean, like you said, Lau, Dana's doing crime right in front of our eyes. So you never know. But I mean, what do you guys feel about this actual announcement though with Francis and Derrick?
To be really quick about it, I think it's something that us UFC fans probably seen now for some weeks now, due to all the online public beef about John Jones' pay versus Dana White. So Derrick Lewis, ranking wise, he was the next man up. He's the only UFC heavyweight outside of Cyril Gain, who's on a good amount of wins right now. So I think that it's not a bad fight. I think that's a good fight for Francis. It's a good fight for Derrick. They could promote that. Both of these guys, fan favorite. So it's not a bad first heavyweight title defense for Francis. I mean, the real question and the real elephant in the room is about John Jones, but it seems like John Jones' next battle is going to be with the UFC with this money, man. I don't know if we'll see John Jones fight this year. He might fight next year, but this year I'll believe it when I see it. But early prediction though, I got Francis knocking out Derrick.
I think that if we don't see Francis versus John, it's going to be one of the best fights we never saw. That's what I think personally, with all the opportunity to make it. And me personally, I mean, the way I feel about it is like it's a fight where both of them have the opportunity to knock each other out, and it's going to be something to watch.
Nah, that's a fact. Like I think it's a fight that we wish we would have gotten between John and Francis. But I mean, even in the meantime, like if that fight ever does happen, it's going to be something amazing to see. And in the meantime, well, while that's something that we just wish and dream of, at least the fight between Francis and Derrick Lewis will be entertaining. I'm siding with y'all. I think there will be a knockout. I honestly, I think this may be one of the most devastating knockouts Francis may actually give to a fighter, because now I'm serious, because now we're actually going to watch. We've seen what Francis looks like when he's like slowed down. And now we're going to see that same Francis Ngannou with someone that has an idea of the style he'll be fighting with. I think we may end up seeing someone that's maybe more tactical, someone that's already said like he wants to go fight in boxing. So he's probably even stepped his boxing game up to another level, while still, like we saw, his ground game is not impeccable, but he knows how to stuff a takedown. And that's the last guy you want to get hit by. So I think it'll be an entertaining fight. I think Derrick Lewis will try to he's going to show his heart. But, I mean, I don't think his heart's going to get him an admission pass to a championship. I will say that. So, I'm saying I think that's a knockout in the first 45 seconds, possibly, to be honest with you.
Man.
And that's not crazy when it's Francis.
I'm not saying it is. That's just
it's not crazy.
A strong statement. That's all I'm saying.
Well, it's not crazy with it's Francis, but it's also not crazy with Derrick Lewis, who also can put somebody's lights out fairly viciously. So this is us fans. No matter whoever the listeners are rooting for, because I know they're both fan favorites. We're just hoping that this rematch is not a snooze fest like the first fight, where they barely was throwing punches and they both were like gun shy. Well, that's all we're hoping for. And us fans are also hoping for that, the Los Angeles Lakers get knocked out the motherfucking playoffs and the Golden State Warriors move on. And Steph Curry is the motherfucking MVP. Because the real definition of most valuable player is, hey, if you remove this guy from the team, that team will not succeed. And fucking Steph Curry is always hitting his threes. He's dropping 40, 50, 60. It don't matter. He's telling Steve Kerr, hey, what you want to see me do, coach? Yes, listeners, I'm referencing the NBA playing tournament. It's a very controversial thing. Some fans fucking hate it. A lot of fans fucking hate it. Actually, 99.9% of the fans fucking hate this tournament. It's dumb as hell. It's whack. But it starts on motherfucking May 19th. Oops, excuse me, May 18th. But the reason why I mentioned May 19th because LeBron versus Steph Curry, part 5 in the playoffs. And this is a really big game because if LeBron loses, I don't think he'll get knocked out. I think he has another chance to play the winner of the 9 and 10 seed, which is total trash. Explanation for another day. But what I will say is this is the game that everybody cares about. Who's gonna be able to be in the playoffs? So I want the Warriors to win. I hope the Warriors can win. I don't know about you guys, but I like seeing Steph Curry, the underdog, succeeding.
I personally want the Warriors to win. I don't want the Lakers to go. I'm sorry. I don't know. Like for me, I just think I like seeing different people in the mix. Especially I am a fan of Steph Curry as well. So I mean, like it wouldn't be bad to see them advance further. I don't think they do much more than that. I don't think they're going to like the finals. You know what I mean? Like they're definitely not the team for that. And I think that's really like the dumbest thing about it. Like I think the fact that there's a okay team that could end up like somewhere in the playoffs just to get murdered by another team is kind of ridiculous. But it just doesn't make sense. But I mean, it'll make for some very nice stats.
Yeah. So inform me on this because I've been busy for like the past couple of weeks. Y'all know I've been like moving around in and out of town. What's up with what's up with the whole play-in tournament?
So the NBA decided, due to like the pandemic and the season not being like its normal length and all this other logistical bullshit, aka corruption. So they decided to come up with a new format called the play-in tournament. And this play-in tournament is supposed to help bail out these teams that are fucking sorry and garbage, but they're giving them a chance to actually be in the playoffs, even though their winning percentage is near to shit, right?
That's horrible.
But the reason why they're doing it is to generate money, because it's drama. Oh my God, the 10th seed, they're like fucking 0-15 in their last 15 games, but they beat the number 7 seed to get in the playoff. They're trying to do some college-esque bullshit. So basically, the 7th and 8th seed, they play each other in a one playoff game. The winner of that goes on to become the 7th seed. The loser of that, they become the 8th seed, and they have to play the winner of the 9 and 10 seed. And if the 8th seed wins, they move on. But if the 8th seed loses to the 9 and 10 seed, whoever wins the 9 and 10 seed, they move on. Yes, it's a little confusing. It's bullshit. Like I said, it's a way to bail out. It's corruption at its finest. I swear, man, everybody's hitting up fucking Bob Arum and Oscar De La Hoya.
Jeez, man.
My thing is like we want to watch these sports to see the best fight the best. Like I understand there's money and drama and personalities and blah 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 blah, and that's what it's all about, right? Of course. But it's like at the same point in time, I don't know. As a fan, you just feel kind of cheated.
Yeah, I mean that's what it sounds like. Like I grew up watching basketball and watching the playoffs, and I've always watched, even throughout LeBron's like run, right? Watch the playoffs, him against Curry, X, Y, and Z. But this makes no sense. Like it's literally sounds like you're having the bad play the bad to see who's the better of the worst, and then just so they can be like pigs and get slaughtered.
Yeah,
and against like the like the real competition. For all that, you might as well just take the best 8 or whatever the number you want to use, and then having the 1 seed play the 8 seed and call it a day. This sounds horrible, and it definitely seems like how you guys are saying where someone's probably going to get farther than they should, and then they deserve to. But like you said, a lot of times the dollar always speaks.
Yep, that's what make the hoes shake ass, man.
Hey man, listen, man. The dollar definitely always speaks because I'm not gonna lie to you. Because of anybody that's a big fan of podcasting, definitely within the hip hop space, has probably been keeping their ears on this whole Joe Budden thing and the Joe Budden podcast.
Oh man!
And you talking about how money speaks. We've been hearing sides of Joe. We've been hearing sides of Rory and Maul. And it sounds like a lot of this has to do with money, power, ego.
Yeah,
like a lot of things. What how do you Joe Budden is one as far as bringing his therapist on an episode. So how are you guys feeling like watching this, especially with us being podcasters ourselves?
So I'm gonna start off because I feel like you and Nigel are more of dedicated fans to the Joe Budden podcast. You're more in tune with those three gentlemen. You're also know more of their background stories and stuff. Me becoming a newer listener of the podcast because I caught on late. I'm gonna get my novice, casual fan of their podcast take out the way. Basically, what I got from it, Joe's calling them, especially Mal, hey, you a dirty ass freeloading guy. You slept on my couch. You know, would he buy detergent products and shit for the house? You keep it in your room for yourself. That shit was funny. But like, so it seems like Joe's like, hey, look, you guys didn't put no work onto this. I actually put you guys on. You guys are not really doing anything but just talking. And you asking for audits and looking at the account numbers, fuck that, fuck you. You're being too entitled. And then Maul and Rory's side of it is like, hey, nah, you're spinning a false narrative because the truth is really, hey, look, you know, we have a deal where me and you, we got percentages going on. Of course, you're going to get the lion's share because this is the Joe Budden podcast. So you're going to get the lion's share because you are the main event of the show, but we deserve a percentage too. And all we wanted to know is like, hey, how much are we making? Right? You didn't put us on no fucking salary. Like, you know, let's say LeBron, he's, you know, they said this on the response. LeBron is making $50 million a year. He don't care what the Lakers are making. You know, he only makes sure he gets his $50 million a year because that's his salary. Right. But if he was getting a percentage of what the Los Angeles Lakers are bringing in, then he has every right to know, hey, what is my cut of that percentage? So that's what they're saying. And so why I say it's like, I feel like I understand both sides of the conversation, but I don't agree with how Joe went about it, airing his friends out publicly. I think that's a little foul. You know what I mean? Not saying that you have whatever business they got going on. I'm not saying that Joe's wrong or Rory and Maul's wrong because that's their financial business. But Aaron, your these are supposed to be your niggas, man. These are supposed to be your homeboys, your people, and you're airing them out publicly where people can nationally listen to that. And now they're clowning them and treating them like they ain't shit. They don't know nothing about money because the way that you acted out about it. And I just don't think that was cool. Not saying that Joe was wrong on how he felt about the situation. Same thing with Rory Mal. I'm not saying they're wrong about that. I just don't think Joe should have aired them out publicly. You know, that should have been like, hey, behind closed doors, we're going to go ahead and have this triple threat. So,
yeah, no, I listen, man. Shout out to the triple threat. Like, yeah, I mean, I agree with you where I think Joe went about it wrong. Definitely in the sense of like the statement of like, yeah, when I asked Maul to get on here, I didn't know what he was doing. He was just back and forth from New York. I didn't even know. To be honest with you, I've never broke bread with Maul because he always lived with me. It's like when you start saying things like that and then saying like these negative things about Rory and discrediting their efforts. And now, don't get me wrong. When we heard Joe's response, I think we all were in a unanimous decision of, from Joe's perspective, he's right. And then, but of course, we also know sometimes when people give their perspective, they leave out information or their perception may be different than what the reality is. And typically that's why they say there's always three sides to the truth: yours, mine, and the actual event that happened. Yeah. But when it comes to it, I think because I watched when that episode came out with the response, I ended up watching the episode that Joe had put out that same day on that Saturday where he had his therapist on, and you could tell, I think the biggest disconnect is in Rory and Maul's eyes, they're partners. We have a contract. We said we're going to make a certain percentage, and that's it. We're profit partners. You own the IP to this thing, X, Y, and Z, cool. But like you said, in order for me to know how much I'm making money, I get a percentage of the profit. So I need to know how much the business is profiting so I know how much money I need to be paid. So from that perspective, I get their perspective. In Joe's mind, it's you're my employees. Even throughout that whole episode with his therapist, oh yeah, your employees. Sometimes your employees don't like this. Your employees change on you. Your employees this, your employees that. And you have people like Parks, Ice, Ish, all of them, like they're backing that because that's the perspective that Joe's providing. I think this whole thing has shown that I think in terms of reconciliation, it's limited. They may be able to be cool again eventually, but just the way it all went down from the distasteful approach Joe had with airing his dirty laundry out, I think it's going to be hard for them, as well as like, I'm not going to say that podcast is over, but I think there's the likelihood of something. I'll put it like this: I think the next chapter of the Joe Budden podcast is leaves us with a lot of mystery and a lot of things to wonder, I'll say.
I think with everything going on, it's going to be interesting to see like where the podcast and the network go. It's definitely going to be a lot of damage control, I guess you can call it. You know what I mean, from the situation. Like me personally, I can understand both sides because like from the way they describe it, both of them, it makes sense. But it's like when you put it together, like you can understand why both of them felt wronged in a certain way. You know what I mean? Like you get it. Like from certain principles of the other, didn't like that, but certain approaches weren't liked by the other person, and you get why the situation, how it took the turn it took. You know what I mean? It's unfortunate. I think that their friendship can, get better over time, but it's going to take a lot only because like this is like a public situation now. I think if it never hit the airwaves, I think it would be easier, but it's like now you and everybody else has to deal with this now. And it's go ahead.
I think they have to shoot the one, man.
They really might have to, and there's nothing wrong with that. If they gotta do it, they gotta do it. But I mean,
let's let the listeners know that term means to if they don't know, let's let them know that means to fight. It doesn't mean to shoot somebody. I think if you don't know, man.
Spence is right on that. Not everybody understands what that is.
I hear you.
Like someone that lives on the totally other side of the country might be like, shoot the one. Oh, he said they should shoot them.
They have Google, you know what I mean? Urban Dictionary, that shit. But,
I mean, listen, half the time people don't even read captions.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
That's true.
But I mean, like overall, I think we're gonna see a lot of where things go in the future because of everything that's going on with the situation. It seems to be getting a little bit deeper, but like, that's something we'll hit on, I guess, when we hear more about it. But like that's it. I don't know. I hope that they can all find some type of peace after this. It seems like they have a lot going on, all of them.
Yeah, it definitely seems like they have a lot going on. I mean, it's just so weird like watching this because I've been a fan of the Joe Budden podcast since like episode 64. So to go through 400 plus episodes essentially and never thinking it would get to this point where like you're seeing like this is like one of those things where you hear about in movies or you hear it about like as a kid of like fighters having a fallout and they were good friends or TV shows or radio shows having fallouts. But like we've never seen it to this extent of like you might hear stuff in tabloids, but this is like, hey, set up the camera and we're gonna go and I'm gonna just post something because even anybody that's been paying attention closely to it, like Joe Budden, he hasn't said anything since the same day he released his Saturday podcast is the same day that Rory Maul put out I'll name this response later, and so Joe hasn't made a comment on it, but from what I've seen on like his Instagram, he's a lot of things he posted in the stories is like the movie The Accountant, like where there's a sarcasm of like trying to be funny, but also trying to say something without vocalizing it. Knowing that, like it just looks like it's just getting uglier, and I mean sometimes you got to have a fair one, or just to see if that helps resolve something possibly. If that is what a person chooses to do. But I don't know. It's just sad. It's sad to see, and then on top of it, like there's more things that's compounding onto Joe, because I know he said he has shows coming up X, Y, and Z, but he had a show. He actually has on his network. He has a podcast, and one of the podcasters that actually left the network, I think it's called See the Thing Is podcast with Mandy, Bridget Kelly, and there was a girl, Olivia Dope. Olivia Dope actually chose to walk away from the show, and now she's came out with these allegations that she left the show because Joe was sexually harassing her. Like, and apparently this is all happens on the episode. So there's video clips of this, like, actually on the Joe Budden network, of him having the conversation, calling them out their names, trying to convince them, like, hey, I should be able to call you a bitch. Also telling her, like, yo, like, you look nice. He asked her for a hug and kind of started air humping her at the same time.
I seen that shit. Joe's fucking wrong.
Facts.
He's wrong. I'm not even gonna defend Joe on that at all. The See the Thing Is podcast, I'm not a fan of it. I've seen clips and all that. I think it's just not for me. And shouts out to everybody who enjoys that type of shit and enjoys that content. But whether you agree with what those ladies represent and how they carry themselves, that doesn't give any man the right to publicly or privately do something against their consent, you know? And him doing what he's doing, there's no way to spin it. It's just not a good look, you know? And sometimes I've seen some people in the comments on the little video saying, like, oh, was she allowed to hug and all that? And I don't think people really understand, like, not everybody knows how to handle a certain situation, as some of these, you know, couch potatoes claim, oh, she should have never done it. Like, every situation is very unique and it's kind of particular. Sometimes people don't know how to react to certain things at that moment of time and heat of the moment. And if you also watch the video at the end of it, she's like, she was uncomfortable doing it. So, like, I felt like he's wrong for him doing what he was doing. And whatever backlash she's going to get from this or whatever consequences and all that, all I could say is, like, he kind of brought it on upon himself by doing what he's doing, because it wasn't exactly the exuberance of professionalism. So I just think that with all the public dispute he got with his former co-host and now with another colleague from another podcast show, things are looking a little, you know, dark for Joe at the moment. I'm not saying his career may fold over, but, you know, he's in a sticky one right now.
Yeah, anything that he takes from the situation, he has to, you know, just sit back and take it. That's pretty much, you know, the way it goes. Like, he was wrong, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Situations like this have to happen for people to actually, for a lesson to be taught. All I can say is, I think in certain manners, like, people have to understand, like, reading the room. I don't know. I don't even know what to say other than it was just inappropriate at the end of the day. Hopefully things are able to play out how they should, because it's just unacceptable at the end of the day. I don't know if canceling him will happen, because it's not like the powers that be are the ones that facilitate what he runs. He runs it pretty much off of, like, him recording his own stuff. So I think his fan base will dwindle somewhat. Those people that are in the comments saying, like I agree with Lau in the sense of, like, people in the comments talking about, oh, he should have did this X, Y, and Z. I mean, more likely those people are just weird to some extent. But I do think Joe will probably still keep running his show, running his network as best as he can, and whatever happens, he has to sit through it and then just kind of keep moving from there. But hopefully he learns a lesson throughout this whole thing.
Yeah, you know, it's crazy because, like, on a normal episode of the Joe Budden podcast, we probably would hear them talk about the J. Cole album that just came out. And I know
Yeah.
y'all listen to it, and that's why the listeners have us instead. So we can bring that to them so they can, hear us, talk about our musical opinion of J. Cole in the off season. Guys, what do you think?
I thoroughly enjoyed the album. I thought the album was a really good album. I thought the album was great. Man, so far, he might have the best rap project of the year so far, you know? And I know I said that with Benny the Butcher, and I know I said that with Conway, but I really think J. Cole put out a solid piece of work, man. I like it. I know some people were a little critical of his singing on this. I thought it was him evolving his game, like he's not. I don't, and it's not like we never heard him sing before. He's sung before on his rap songs in the past, so it's not like this is some brand new etiquette shit he's trying. I just think that this album, I don't have anything bad to say about this album. He's motherfucker stunting. He's talking about some real life shit. He's talking about some shit that people didn't know about, like Diddy getting beat up and shit like that. Like this shit is it's crazy. Like
What?
there's nothing bad for me to say about this album. I like it. I really do like this album. It's really good.
Hey, Lau, what was it that you said about Kendrick?
Yo, man.
Oh my God.
So what I said, right, as because I was kind of interpreting the situation, and Spence, he's supposed to be the measuring stick for behind the scenes culture, because he's on the dark web looking at archives and hacked text messages and shit. And he was like,
Gotta
"Oh
stay tapped
yeah,
in.
yeah." He was like, "Oh yeah, Diddy had a little few drinks in him and he felt some type of way about Kendrick's control verse. So he kind of like confronted him like, yo, son, what's that shit about?" And Kendrick, like shit his pants and Cole stood up for his mans. And that was it, man. Nothing more, nothing less.
I don't think anybody necessarily got beat up or was bitching out of a fight. Like I don't really think it was like that. All we know is that they got into a scuffle. Like, and it doesn't even sound like he was describing it as like, yo, I gotta stand up for Kendrick. Like
No,
it didn't seem like that.
No, it didn't seem like that at all in the song. But like when you read it, like people commenting and people saying this is kind of like the consensus of like, oh, this is what the fuck really happened.
Okay.
Yeah, but if you listen to the song, the song was like let go my hand or some shit like that.
Yeah.
He doesn't even say that he beat up Diddy. He just is kind of like, hey, I had an altercation. That was it.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I think more or less it's like the theories that the internet provided to us in terms of like what happened and what sources say, and even those that may have listened to the Joe Budden podcast, when they told him what they thought, what they heard were the rumors, he was like, I heard a totally different story. So like, who knows if that rumor is true or not? I mean, it's entertaining nonetheless for the sake of the conversation. But I do remember there was a rumor at one point in time where Diddy had fought J. Cole, because this was like shortly after the Drake situation between Diddy and Drake. So, but back to the off season. Overall, I think it was a really great album. It is in contention for the best album or one of the top albums of this year.
Wow, we agree. Wow.
Yeah, man. Hey, man, it's not hard. It's not hard to agree when you're right. Like,
Thank you. I appreciate
I
you
know.
saying that I'm right. Thank you.
I know I am. But no worries, man. It's always good to be on my side, right?
I'm never on your side. There's one side, and that's me.
You're my Robin to my Batman, bro. Like, it's like,
Definitely not, bro.
it's like, nah. But yeah, like nonetheless though, like, yeah, we agree on this one. Like it's in contention for the best album this year. J. Cole I think to me, this is probably one of the more fuller J. Cole projects, where J. Cole goes through giving us the rap music that we want, that the conscious stuff that he's given us before over slower beats, X, Y, and Z. But now he's also giving us that, just the music that you can play in a club, the music that you can rock out, driving around, blasting throughout your system, whatever the case may be, without feeling like, oh, this is like not as entertaining. Like he's giving you bars, he's giving you metaphors, giving you stories, giving you the reflections on his life where he is currently. And this time, compared to anybody else, compared to his previous projects, he's actually had features on this one. And from what the rumors are saying, outside of just the features, just to add a note, if this album goes number one this week, which we'll find out within the next couple of days, this would be the he'll be the first artist to have 6 studio albums go number one, and like his first 6 albums go number one on Billboard, which right now I think he's tied with Drake and DMX.
Damn.
So
I'm just gonna say it couldn't happen to a better person. Like this is a guy who's drama free, pretty positive outside of the music. Like, couldn't happen to a better guy. He delivers quality music. He's not no bullshit. We know this sounds like this motherfucker's not lying in his raps. So like, shouts out to him. I seen a little report that, he might hit like over 250,000 in the first week.
Okay.
I 250,000, my bad. And I think that's phenomenal numbers.
Kendrick numbers.
I think that's no. Kendrick numbers for you. He's going fucking platinum week one.
I mean, those are your Kendrick
million.
numbers. Those are your Kendrick numbers.
No,
250 is Kendrick numbers for you.
Yeah, 250 is. Hey, that's amazing. That's you know what I mean. That's amazing. You have amazing numbers. You have I am surprised numbers. Then you have Drake numbers. So that's the thing. Shouts out to J. Cole. Honestly, J. Cole could hit 300,000 if he's already projected to over 250,000. So shouts out to him. I think he's clearly going to be the number one guy, and not no other Rudy Poo candy asses that that dropped music the week prior. So and no discredit to them, but like, come on, who's the better artist, J. Cole or them? J. Cole. So
them.
Yep. Okay. So what I'm saying is just like amazing numbers, and hopefully Kendrick could do the same. If Kendrick does more, you guys are right. I know you guys will throw a celebration, huzzah, huzzah. You'll run around in green underwear, hugging each other and shit.
Yeah, you got a really deep imagination, man.
No, it's just I'm just saying what you guys do. You guys are sitting here pretending like you don't run around, showing each other shit.
What I thought of the album personally, I thought it was pretty good. I listened to it a few times over the weekend, and I feel like I tried not to like it at first, and like after a few listens, I was like, I gotta like it for what it is. Because like I'm a harsh, critic on the better rappers, shouldn't I be? I did like J. Cole's album. It was pretty good. Like there's like a long, like pretty much for me, after the second song, the rest of the album's a run. And I really fuck with it. Like it's good. A lot of the songs are good. A lot of the songs could be hits. A lot of the songs could be singles for real. So it's like, I don't know. Like it also sounds good. You know what I mean? Like it's not a bad album.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. You can't say nothing bad about it.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's like the worst I can say is that I'm just not the biggest fan of the first 2 songs, and those songs are good. They're
what?
good songs.
You're not a fan of the first 2 songs are like hard.
The rest of the album is better than the first 2 songs. That's just me.
Man, I don't know the first song, 95 South.
I'm not saying it's a bad song.
Yeah.
I can't hit on that.
Yeah, like what Krispy Kreme dreams? Like, come on, yo.
I'm not saying they're bad songs. I just like the rest of the album more.
Hey man, he did say he liked Big Flock's album more.
Yeah, hey man, listen.
Shouts out to Big Flock. Shouts out to the whole DMV, man. But that's Nigel's take. He did like his album more.
Yeah, so I mean, it's hard to argue with someone like that,
Yeah.
Y'all right. Y'all right.
I will say this, like I think the beginning of the album is more like kind of carries that theme of like the first track, right, of 95 South, of more amped up, turned up, and it's only 12 songs. This album's only 12 songs at that. So it's like it's more amped up, but at the same time, like I guess if you're like a purist of like a J. Cole type of fan. Like you want like the more slower type of beats where he's kind of like, where some people will call him like a snooze fest. Some people will. I personally don't, but I know people that always look at J. Cole as like a lullaby rapper that can help them fall asleep easily at night. So, hey man.
Good melatonin, man.
Yo, listen, man. They sleeping on a cold world, man. They prefer being in a Dreamville, I guess. But like, I thought I had something there, man. I thought I had something.
All right, my bad.
Oh man, y'all are funny. I thought I had something for us. I thought I was gonna be able to get that one through without anybody saying anything. Yeah. So like, but yeah, like a lot of people sleep on him, but nonetheless, like the album was great. I think my favorite track is actually with him and 21 Savage.
It's a good song.
21.
Yeah, like they make good music together.
Yeah.
So like it, like to me, I think that was like a really great. To me, that was probably my favorite song from there. And on top of it, though it's not something we had on our list, but I think another reason why I liked it was because I was a fan of like the EP that 21 Savage put out for the Saw soundtrack.
Spiral.
Yeah, the Spiral soundtrack. So, but yeah, it was pretty dope though. It was a pretty dope song, pretty dope album that J. Cole dropped. I do think it probably will. I can see it easily hitting 250 to 300,000 if those are the projections. So I mean, hey man, that's all I can say. Like, great job, he delivered, and now I do think he probably will drop another album sooner than later. I don't think our wait will be as great for the next one because he still keeps hinting at the fall off, which I think is like has been like a long awaited album. So I think with what we got here, we have something even better coming our way. But for the time being, even if it takes 2 years for that to drop, I think we will. I think as J. Cole fans, we are all thoroughly pleased with what we heard.
J. Cole, man, top 3 motherfucker in the game today.
Easily.
Depending on who you are, you may place him 1 or you may place him 2, but you can't argue that the motherfucker's not top 3. You know what I mean? And if you say he's not top 3, go ahead and take your opinion, shove it right up your ass, and don't talk. Don't talk to us. Don't talk to us. Before we move on, okay, hold your little thought.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Did you guys hear the Migos song?
No.
Nah, I was
okay. Well, my opinion, since you guys didn't hear it, we're not gonna break it down really. It's all right song. It's a cool song. I can hear the song, being blasted in the club and people going crazy, I guess. But apparently, the song that was released was even like the true snippets that the insiders heard. Apparently, like this album, which has been announced is coming out next month, it's supposed to be like, hey, this album is much better than the single that was heard. So, but since you guys didn't listen to it, we don't have to divulge into it. So we'll just move on.
Yeah. I didn't get a chance to listen to it. Did you guys have a chance to listen to Nicki's re-release of "Beam Me Up, Scotty," along with like the 4 new tracks that she dropped?
No.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I listened to it. Some of the songs, out of the new songs, I'm not gonna lie to you. I was hyped to see Chirac was on there because she had a couple good songs on there. Definitely, not even just. I'm not a Nicki fan, but she had some good songs on there from like probably a classic mixtape that she dropped. But I will say this: the song that she put out, I want to shout Nicki out for this because we saw anybody that was on Twitter around the time when this album dropped. That whole day, that whole Friday, there was this whole thing of this producer making this beat on an MPC in the back of a car. Fire beat. Next thing you know, people were saying, "Oh, I wish Pusha T was on this. I wish Pusha T, Meek, Nipsey." People were dubbing songs, X1, all of that type of stuff. And come to find out, it ended up being the beat that would be the first song off this project that she re-released with new tracks. And it was with her, Drake, and Lil Wayne. I forget the name of the song offhand, but I will say this. From what it looks like, we are about to have one crazy Drake season when Drake drops his project, because Drake was really going off on it. Wayne had a fire verse as well. And Nicki did a great job too. She even came out and said like she got washed on that song. So just wanted big ups to that. And I think it just breeds more anticipation for this new CBL Drake album. So
CBL.
yeah, Certified Lover Boy, man.
I hear you.
You said CBL, bro. I was wondering like what
CLB.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I know.
You guys are catching everything today. It's better than the commenters. So.
but no, I ain't listened to the Nicki song, and shouts out to Nicki. You know, I was the one defending her on the prior podcast, and so shouts out to her. You know, good for you. I heard that. But I read that the sales were going to be pretty nice, and that's actually really good. Thumbs up, because you talk about an old ass mixtape, and with a re-release, and it's going to be one of the better selling projects of the fucking week, you know. Yeah. So shouts out to Nicki Minaj. That goes once again. She's easily, you know, one of the greatest rappers of all time, male or female. So shouts out to her. All right. I think we got a couple more things before we close out. Anything else you guys want to say?
Well, I was actually just going to tie it.
Wait, my bad. Nazo, what was your question, bro?
Oh, I was going to say, I don't think the fall off is ever going to come out. What if it was like his detox type shit?
Nah, I think it's going to drop.
He's like, I'm never falling off. You know what I mean? Type shit.
Go off the stage.
I'm just saying. You never know.
Yeah. It's like that.
I said I feel bad. I was like, yo, Nacho got a question. Next year he started talking some bullshit.
I was letting go. I was just like, it's a thought that I had. I was just like, maybe.
Nah, I mean it's possible, but I think it just builds anticipation. Like
it's probably gonna come out like next year.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and we also gotta realize with J. Cole, he has like a whole basketball theme at the end of the day. So like you probably want to have the off season before you have the fall off. So like, or who knows if there may be another album between that. And I mean, let's be honest, it could be his detox, because if anybody's been watching, he's been playing basketball now. He's a professional basketball player. So giving people 50 points, 23 assists, 26 blocks, 34 rebounds.
You talking about the fucking play-ins? You must be, because those are crazy stats.
Yeah, I was about to say. Shouts out to J. Cole, but like, oh my god, you talking about 2K or something, nigga?
My God, man.
That's not what I saw.
Shouts out to him, but that wasn't it.
Yeah.
Hey man, listen, yo, when you putting stats up like that, you're a legend in 2 games, like Pee Wee Kirkland, man. So, hey, listen, that's all I can say. But I mean, speaking of legends. Actually,
speaking of,
because I never said that shit again. That's
you almost said that shit, bro.
I didn't. Did I?
Did I? Like, speaking of, wait.
Yo, y'all are stupid. Y'all are crazy. Yeah, the legends of all legends. One of the Chirac legends himself, Lil Reese. He actually, how can I say it? Over recently on Twitter, we found out there was some news that Lil Reese had been shot. And anybody that knows, he's been shot. I think last time he got shot last year in the throat by a Draco. He was shot in the throat by a Draco, which is like crazy. Lived to talk about it. He's able to speak again. Well, unfortunately, the video clip came out where he was shot. Looked like he had welts on his face from where he may have been attacked as well. And the timeline looked very grim for him. And he came out and he just posted that he had still survived a shot. He had survived another shooting, and he'd pretty much be back outside before you know it. So, kind of crazy thing, but tough act to kill.
Man.
Maybe I might.
We're keeping that.
What I want to say about Lil Reese, I never understood why he never moved out to LA like Chief Keef and Fredo did. R.I.P. Fredo, but like, why did he never ever move out to LA with the rest of the Glow Gang GB guys? You know what I mean? Like, you see all of them, they're all living healthy. They all right. You know, they're not. And I'm not trying to be funny about the situation, but like he's getting hurt and he's surviving, and you know, God bless him for surviving. But it's kind of like, yo, when will it be enough for you to be like, you know what, it's enough? And I don't know. I mean, when you getting shot 4 or 5 times, you like, shit, I catch bullets with my teeth. Maybe he might just be sitting in Chicago till his time is up. But I just feel like the dude needs to leave, man, because apparently it's not a safe place for him to live.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy seeing this like go on this time and time again. Like, I don't really have much to say about it, but I mean, like, it's just like similar to what you said. Like, this is happening time and time again. It just seems like there's no end to it. You know what I mean? Shouts out to him though. You know, and hopefully he takes care of himself.
Yeah, no, that's a fact. I mean, I do hope he gets out of Chicago at this point because it's one too many incidents happening back to back. Like, he just started speaking again just recently, like in the past couple of months, I believe. So like, hopefully he makes that decision of finally moving. I don't know why, to answer Lyle's question. I don't know why he's never moved, because it definitely with all the success that they were having at the time. But I mean, we've seen it before with like artists where some artists just, I don't know. Some artists prefer going back to their environment that they came up in or whatever. So who knows? But I would advise that him and all the people around him that he keeps close to him, they advise him to leave as well. It's good to see that he's able to he's back on his feet, or he'll be back on his feet pretty soon, Lord willing. So, but yeah, it is kind of crazy.
We got anything else for the listeners?
Man.
Yeah, I think there's something. Not the one that is. No, I don't got nothing. It was something that you had, that you was talking to me about, that you was like, oh, I understand what you're saying, Lyle. I agree with you like I do every other time that you talk, Lyle.
Clearly, you want to talk about what this thing is.
No. I know, but
I think we can save it for another day.
Okay, I'm fine with that, man. Maybe I give you time to gather your thoughts to be like, this is how I wanted to agree with Lyle. I had to think about what I want to say.
Wow.
All right. Do we have anything else for the listeners?
I just want to say shouts out to the listeners. Make sure you follow us at Advise Highly on Twitter. Make sure you follow us at the Highly Advised Podcast on Instagram, and make sure you subscribe to our YouTube. Listeners, make sure that you leave comments, you leave likes, you also leave us reviews on the Apple Podcasts and also on Spotify. That definitely help us out, but also we appreciate that. We like seeing feedback. We like seeing compliments. We even like seeing criticism because, we're definitely not perfect. We want to improve and all that stuff like that because we can't continue to entertain the jabronis if, you guys are not saying anything. So I'd rather have you guys boo us as the true heels as we can be versus just not saying shit and picking your nose. So shouts out to the listeners. Make sure you check us out. It's your boy Big Cozy Too Cozy. Before we all get off, what does Spence say and what does Nigel have to say?
All I got to say is drink your water, wear your mask, sanitize, and make sure you like and subscribe to all the platforms that Lyle's already told you. This is the cross space between mixed martial arts and hip hop. No place in the universe can you find this. So please do yourself the favor, not just us, but yourself. Mm-hmm. Keep yourself in the know. Keep yourself in the loop. Mm-hmm. Keep yourself highly advised with what's going on in the world of combat sports as well as hip hop, and subscribe. That's all I got to say.
Yes, sir.
That's all I got to say.
Listeners, we are the best hip hop and MMA podcast on the internet. This is Relaxing _Jackson. You just heard from St. Kitch. And then you have Lyle, a.k.a. Big Cozy Too Cozy. We are the Highly Advised Podcast. We will see you guys next week. Have a good one.
Resident Evil coming soon.
You've been highly advised.